Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, your host as always, Andrew O'Hara. Joining me this week, two special guests. That's right, there are two of them. They are brothers. It is Jurgen and Martin, who are the co-founders of Nuki, which is a smart lock that we've talked about on the podcast, primarily for their European stuff. And now we may have some cool stuff to talk about for those stateside. So thank you two for joining me this week.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for having us, and really good to be here.
Yeah, welcome everybody.
Jurgen and Martin are both also coming to us. Like, they are over in Europe right now, so time zones are fun making these podcasts work. So, like, seriously, I know it's getting late for you guys. So let's get into the news. We have so many things to talk about. Starting off with Sonos Ace. Everyone knows I love Sonos products. We've talked about them so much on the show. And this time there's actually a fun update, which is the Sonos Ace headphones are getting some more features for like the smart home, or at least smart home audio. Basically, now the audio swap feature on the Sonos Ace to the Sonos soundbars now supports two separate headphones. So if you and your partner are sitting in bed, you can hit the audio swap thing and it'll throw it from your TV over to your two sets of headphones. I think that was one of the biggest limiting factors on this. I like this. I know a lot of people who listen to their TVs with headphones, and they've just made this so easy to do. Jurgen, Martin, I don't know how you guys like listen to your TVs. Have you ever tried setting up headphones or anything like that for it?
Still talking with my wife while watching TV, so no headphones here.
This update had a few other changes too. They say there is cleaner, more natural calls with HD voice audio on them now. There's smarter noise cancellation, takes into consideration things like hair, hats, and glasses if you're wearing those with these over-the-ear headphones. Adaptive ANC now adjusts in real time to compensate for those sound leaks to keep things sounding great. And there's new True Cinema is on there to help analyze what you're watching to make it sound more realistic through a set of headphones. So all good things. Next up, we have a new air purifier. I love a good air purifier, especially with about 30 animals in this house. But Blue Air has the new Blue Air Signature. They've always had some really nice looking air purifiers. They're also, I think, a European company, if I recall. But they look really nice. And this new one is really designed to sit in like a living room where it's like a very common room in the house. It's for larger rooms. It'll do 3390 square feet per hour of air turnover. There's a newly updated Blue Air app to go along with it. There's an air sense mode that changes out stagnant air automatically in the room, even if there's no pollution or smells or anything to worry about. There's a special night mode that will dim the LEDs and turn the fan to the lowest speed. There's the nice fabric pre-filters, one of the things I love about them most, because you can just take it off, throw it in the washer, and put it back on. And extra colors that you can rotate through. Unfortunately, there is no Apple Home or Matter, but it's still connected, and it still just looks really cool. You can actually use the top of it as a side table, which looks really nice, and you can even add on wooden legs to it. For smells, again, all of the animals here, there's both a carbon layer and a mineral layer built into the filters, where they say there is 10 times odor removal. I'm not sure what they're comparing against that, but 10 times sounds like a lot of times. And then there's a motion activated interface on the top. So there's no like big bulky screen, LED, anything like that. As you get up to it, it lights up and you can hit the touch controls or use the app, turn on automatic mode. I like it. This thing looks really cool. It's basically just like a small cylinder, about little like end table height that you can set stuff on. I like the wood and the gray, just look very classy for like kind of like a modern room. Do you guys use air purifiers at all?
I have one too at home because in Europe, it's quite cold in winter, so you need to heat the rooms and then they run the risk of drying out. So having air purifiers helps. Makes it all a little bit more healthy. And I haven't seen the device now that you just mentioned, but if there is one that looks a little bit more beautiful and well designed, I would definitely appreciate it because mine is a more functional one.
Okay, come on. You guys designed such a pretty looking door lock, right? And you go with a functional looking air purifier. I know that's a problem. They do a lot look like that, but this one's really nice. I feel like you would have had some very nice looking air purifier with such like a design eye, because this looks really cool.
Very much looking forward to the new air purifiers, the well designed ones.
Yes, I think it's starting to happen a little bit. Like they feel like they've hit the maximum spec, and now that people are trying to make things look a little bit more natural inside of people's homes. Okay, Homey has another update out. This is very similar to what we already have inside of Apple Home, but basically they are adding device groups. So this allows you to combine similar items together into a little group to tap within the Homey app. So things like lights, shades, plugs, all of those types of things. Personally, for me, I have my the cabinet lights in the kitchen. So it's technically 6 different GE sync under cabinet lights, but I group them all inside of Apple Home as one device. So I can just tap them to control it on and off, change the color, everything like that. Homey has now basically added the same thing. So if you're a Homey user, that is a new update that is out now. Hue has a couple fun updates for us. I like these. I don't know how much you guys use the Hue stuff, but they're big in Europe too. They've had a lot of Europe-specific releases, but they have a new Hue Play wall washer, which is just kind of a fun name. It comes in both black and white. It's fairly small. It's 6 inches tall, 3.5 inches wide, and it's like a black or white arced piece. I'm not quite sure how to describe this completely. But it basically just goes straight up, and the top curves against the wall a little bit. And the point is to cast large indirect light against a wall, to wash your wall with light and color. It does 1,035 lumens of output, which is quite a bit. The indirect light is similar to other products they have, like the Hue Play bars that are used around TVs quite frequently, or maybe the Hue Iris, which again, just casting that indirect light up on a wall. But this is so much bigger. It has black or white bodies. It is aluminum, so it's actually a metal body to this thing. Has a braided color match cable. You can get a 2-pack of these at once and plug them into one. There's a special wall adapter that'll plug in both at the same time. These look really cool. 2-pack is $385, which is pretty on par for Hue prices, but these seem pretty cool as far as smart lights go. I really want to try these out. What do you guys think?
I personally love indirect lighting, so that's really great.
It's nice, right?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's much more, I don't know, the feeling is much better if you have indirect light than direct light in the room. So everything that is smart and produces indirect light is great by definition.
Yeah, I've been putting indirect lights in so many things. I'm building this bed right now for my son. We're going to upward facing indirect lighting, but I have it behind a lot of the furniture that we do, and it just makes the room feel warmer and cozier. And I don't know, it's a lot better to me than just having really harsh top down lighting. So these seem really cool. I like that a lot. We then have a new Hue Play or a Hue Smart Button. This is a new version of the Smart Button they've had out now. It's actually the version 3 of this thing. It's powered by a single CR2032 battery cell. There's a magnetic mounting plate included in the box, so you can put it on the wall, pull it off, move it around. You can do multiple things like pressing the button to cycle through colors for your Hue lights. You can also hold it down to switch between scenes. If you're connecting this directly to Apple Home, there is only one button press that is supported at this time. I'm hoping they support the double and a long hold and stuff like that in the future, but it just looks really nice. It literally just looks like a matte white button with the Hue logo in the center. $33. Not cheap, not expensive, but Hue stuff is so really reliable. If they ever do add the additional functionality for Apple Home, I think this would be a really good buy. Otherwise, it's just a good buy if you are a Hue user and want some extra physical controls. I also really miss, I don't know if you guys ever saw these, back in the day, they had the tap button, which was a round, hockey puck size thing with 3 buttons on it, and it was powered by the kinetic energy of pressing the buttons. So you literally pressed the button and that would generate enough electricity to send the Zigbee signal. And it was amazing. You never had to change the battery on it, which, I'm going to ask you guys about battery stuff. It's one of the problems with the smart home of having to charge literally everything.
Yeah, we know a lot about batteries because ideally, of course, the best batteries if you're getting rid of batteries. And yeah, that's obviously what they achieved with their kinetic button. But anyways, I wonder that still these days buttons are so central. Yeah. But in the end, you just see that obviously sometimes we just need the easy things and still being able to press the button to turn off the lights and so on. So all the smartness has gone a long way, but still not all the way.
For sure. I also skipped this in my notes, but the next thing we're going to talk about smart lock before we get into talking about your smart lock. This is the Aqara U200 Lite. This is launching in Europe. It is Matter over Thread. Has NFC but no home key. They actually did something that I thought was a little bit different, where they included an NFC sticker in the box, and they put it, you can stick it anywhere outside your home. Then you can tap with your phone or your watch to run an automation to lock or unlock the door. So that was clever. Has a built-in gyroscope to know when the door is properly shut. 2,000 milliamp hour lithium-ion rechargeable battery for about 6 months or so of average use, and the outdoor of your lock stays the same. So this is just internal or retrofit type of thing, like we'll talk about with Nuki, but this is launching in Europe. It's just kind of like a slimmed down version of the existing U200 that we talked about on the show. Hey, here's a fun fact. Last week, I was literally at the mall with my aunt, and we were looking up something. We were like trying to buy things, and she was looking online for deals, and I looked over her shoulder. Do you know what she was using? She was using the Shop app. Yeah, I didn't even tell her about it, and I guarantee she doesn't listen to the podcast, but she was using the Shop app, and I'm like, oh, do you use the Shop app? She's like, oh yeah, it's really cool. A great place to find really good deals on things. I'm like, okay, well, that's very accurate. And I didn't even have to tell her about it. She just knew. This ad isn't any new information for all of you listening, because not only do you hear me talk about Shopify on the podcast, but everyone just knows how helpful Shopify is. And that's just for like consumers. If you own a business or are trying to sell things, there's a whole separate set of benefits for Shopify. So let's just hit the high level ones for you guys real quick. First up, Shopify scales really easily. You can literally be selling tchotchkes that you knit on your couch, and you can sell them online and spin up a whole website with no coding knowledge, no shipping knowledge, nothing. You can spin up a Shopify website and start selling right away. Or you could be a much larger company. You could now be making those same tchotchkes out of a massive factory and selling them globally. And Shopify will handle all of that scaling for you. They will handle ship to store. If you have physical retail store locations now, like you can go have like a tchotchkes down the street, and you could literally have online orders and pick them up in the store that Shopify will handle for you. You can also do fun things like manage your inventory. It'll calculate your shipping and taxes and duties, all that stuff that you don't want to know about or worry about because you're too busy running a business. All of these are beneficial. You can send out gift cards. You can create promo codes. Shopify handles just all of these things for you. It is so easy, so reliable. There's a reason so many companies that I literally work with use Shopify. 12 South, they've been on the show. Nomad, they've been on the show. Allbirds, Rothy's, Brooklinen, like these massive companies that I also buy from all of the time, they also all use Shopify for a very good reason. And as these things merge together, the benefits for consumers and the benefits for actual sellers is that checkout experience. It's really core to what Shopify is. Consumers are going to love it because it is recognizable, understandable, and easy to use. And stores are going to love it because it's an amazingly converting checkout. Like, it helps people get things like into their cart and then to actually buy those things in their cart. You can check out a bunch of different ways, including like Shop Pay, Google Pay, Apple Pay, like all of those things are done really easy to go. So you can just like get in their cart. You're like, well, it's already got my payment information. I might as well hit that checkout button now and just be done with it. It's so easy to do. And then when you use the Shop app, like I was talking about with my aunt, there's all these different sales that you can find for different brands and coupons and promotions, all these things going on, as well as tracking your orders through any shop websites. Like, seriously, just tell everyone you know who has a website that you should just be running it on Shopify. Like, there's a reason so many of them do. So turn your big business idea into success by using Shopify, having Shopify on your side. Sign up for a $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/HomeKit. Go to shopify.com/HomeKit. That is all lowercase, by the way, shopify.com/HomeKit. Thanks, Shopify, for sponsoring this episode. Let's get back to talking about smart locks. Let's go ahead. Let's get into what I'm most excited to talk about, which is the Nuki lock. So first up, which one is this that is launching here in the US? Because you have a few different Nukis. So what's the naming scheme and what is this US version technically called, or how does this line up with your models?
Yeah. So in Europe, we currently have three models in our lineup. There is the Nuki Ultra, which we sell together with a door cylinder. Then there is the Nuki Pro, which is the pure retrofit approach. And then there is the Nuki Go, which is actually our previous model. So it's the fourth generation of smart locks from a hardware perspective. And the model that's going to launch in the US is equivalent to the Nuki Ultra in Europe. So it's our flagship model that we now will be introducing to the US. And in terms of electronics and so on, it's fully the equivalent of what we have already up and running here in Europe since a few months. And there's just different ways how to mount it to the inside of an American door to fit on top of deadbolts. But other than that, no difference. And in terms of namings, in Europe, we are only using Ultra, Pro, and Go. And for the US, because we only have one model there, it's the Nuki Smart Lock. That's it. Easy.
Got it. Okay. So it is the Nuki Smart Lock, only one here in the US that's going to line up with the Ultra. So let me go through some of the specs and stuff as I've been using it for the last little bit here. So it's a very compact, I'm going to throw it while I'm on video. The bottom swivels, folks, but it's a very small smart lock, relatively very compact for this thing. It's got a very hefty metal body to it, nice kind of like brushed finish on this. There is these little rings. I don't know if they look like they swapped on the European version. It does come off, I know on this one, but they didn't, there was no other colors in the box, but at least in the European one, it looked like they had a white one you could put on, but maybe it just depended on which one you get. But I know this one's black. So this one's black. It is Wi-Fi, but also has Matter over Thread. If you are a Thread user or Apple Home user, you should be good with that. This keeps your existing deadbolt, so none of that changes. So it makes it perfect for renters, everyone like that, because you can literally just take off the internal part, put this on. Your landlord has like the same access they always have. Your key works just like it always has, but now you have all the smart capabilities, being able to unlock from your phone, all those different ways, the different automations. You can see when someone unlocks, which personally I think is just as useful. If you're renting somewhere and you know that a landlord has access to your home, you'll know when they are unlocking your door. You know, they should have given you access or given you notice and all that kind of stuff. But it's just nice to know when somebody unlocks your door that is actually happening. There's a brushless motor on the inside. It has a 2-hour recharge time, and which is very interesting. This is the first time I've seen one of these on a door lock, but you have a MagSafe like cable to do your recharging, and it's also very, very fast. That brushless motor is super quick, and you even offer multiple unlocking speeds for people who don't want it to even unlock so fast. So is there anything I am missing on this thing as far as our high-level overview?
I think on the smart lock, that was pretty much on the spot, and you mentioned all the major points, really. Of course, the smart lock also comes with accessories. So there is also a keypad that enables PIN code access or fingerprint access or biometric access from the outside. And we also will be offering a door sensor that detects if the door is open or closed and can also help in automating your leaving home or coming home experience based on detecting that state.
No, I really like the door state thing. So here's before we even get into the interview, I guess, here's my first question. Is that door sensor, is that going to be exposed to Apple Home, or is that just going to be in use by the Nuki app?
It is exposed via Meta, but you won't see it in
Perfect.
Apple Home. The problem is you won't see it in Apple Home. Yeah, but it's not our problem. That's one of the problems that Meta has, that a few of the features that are optional in Meta are not implemented by all the ecosystems. So if you would have a Home Assistant system, you would see it. But unfortunately, for the time being, not in Apple Home.
This is something we've talked about so many times on the podcast of like those rarities of like where things are supported via Matter that Apple Home isn't supported natively. Like there was that really awkward time with air purifiers where there were air purifiers on the market that were Matter certified, and you'd think those would work right away, and those were incompatible. So you had to find literally an Apple Home air purifier or wait for air purifiers to be supported, which they eventually did. So hopefully maybe with this new smart home hub situation, Apple's going to really double down on that Matter support. Because it's ridiculous that, there's a contact sensor and it's not going to be showing up in the Home app for us to use because they don't support all the features. mounting this was really easy, guys. Like this was really nice to do. So if you're watching on the video version of this, I'm holding things up. It's a demonstration episode. This is the back piece, which looks very nice. It is also basically all metal here, and you got two like floating washers that are going to help for accommodating different door mounting styles. So this is going to go up against your door. You have 3 different little gear shafts that are to the different styles of lock here in the US. So like the flat ones, the ones that are shaped like a D, or the ones that are big square. So you pick one of these that matches your door, slide that into place, and then you're just going to mount this thing right onto it. The actual door lock itself goes on, locks into place. Good to go. There's that little MagSafe thing. So let me ask you about that first. Why go with this little MagSafe type cord? Because I do like it. It is, you can hear the little audio. It does sound very satisfying to connect this, but I also have a bunch of things like these MagSafe wallets that I get a little annoyed by because they have special, magnetic pogo pin cables that I have to remember to find. So there's a trade-off here. What was the thought process to going with, I also like that it's a long cord and it's a braided USB-C to charging the magnetic one. But tell me about that. What have you guys went through on battery life here, and how did you end up on this little proprietary cable?
Yeah, well, there was, we also like this function that it pops off. And of course, when the smart lock is mounted, you might want to charge it while it is mounted. You can take it off for charging, but naturally you would just leave it there for the 2 hours while it charges. And then if someone opens the door, you don't want to have a disaster, either by breaking the smart lock or ripping a cable or whatever. So the main reason, of course, is convenience while you charge it. Then, of course, there is also a small little technical detail to it that a USB charging port requires some space, which would have meant that we need enough space for a USB-C to fit into the housing. And there just isn't enough space for it. That's another small detail that wasn't the decision-making reason, but we would have needed to put something. You make the smart lock a little bit larger to fit the USB-C port. So it was also the one that allowed us to make the smart lock smaller than it otherwise would have needed to be.
That makes sense. So what's the battery life on this after a full charge with typical use and everything?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, because it is built, the Ultra, as we sell it in Europe as well, is built for European doors. European doors, you need to turn 720 degrees. So it's more weight the motor has to drive. And we have a lot of multi-point locks, and we have also latches. So it is built for that use case. In the US, with the deadbolt, you basically turn 120 degrees, and this is it. So the motor doesn't eat that much battery. So it lasts very long just for motor operations. We have done over 10,000 lock actions on just a single charge of battery. And a typical user doesn't lock 10,000 times in a year. Then actually the largest battery consumer is, of course, connectivity. And there it depends on how you connect it. So
are you seeing good battery life with Thread?
Yeah, of course. With Thread, it should last for a year. If you are on
That's
Wi-Fi,
very solid.
depends. If you're on Wi-Fi, it depends a lot on your network, but also your neighbors, because Wi-Fi power consumption depends on interference. And if there are a lot of different Wi-Fi networks around, the power consumption is much, much higher than if you are in a single family home somewhere alone on a channel when no one else is.
That makes sense. This random tangent here that this reminds me of. So I was talking to another company in Slovenia, near where you guys are, and they had, we talked about like battery life on the phones, and they're like, we never really have battery life here. But when they, like battery life problems with their phones, but when they come to the US, they end up with really bad battery life on their phones, and they believe it is because of the cellular connection. Their area in like Slovenia is so blanketed in high speed cellular and stuff that they never have anything drain. And here, when they came to the US, they kept losing data, and their phones were constantly like looking for new connections, and they ran through their batteries way faster. So they believe that they get better battery life in Europe than in the US purely because of their cellular strength, because cellular and Wi-Fi, like trying to reconnect and moving networks, takes up so much battery life. So I believe that when it comes to this smart lock. I've seen it on my phone. I don't know if I believe that Europe is that much fancier with their cellular, but that's what they're going with. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if you guys have had that similar experience, but That's what they tell me.
We are not so much into cell connection, but at least on Wi-Fi, we know a ton about Wi-Fi because we are now have Wi-Fi built-in products since 4 years, and there's been lots of optimizations. So we know the tricks of and all the complexities that are in there. But I think we did quite a good job in stabilizing the battery consumption and making it really usable, because we also know that end customers expect at least 4 to 6 months of battery life so that you don't get annoyed by your device. And that was always for us the limit that we wanted to achieve with our products. And with the current lineup, we're definitely there. And as Jürgen said, it's just even easier in the US for us.
Now, you guys are, I feel like Nuki is a very kind of a techie-ish product. Like it looks like it appeals to a lot of tech users. So maybe this isn't as big of a problem, but have you guys seen problems with educating users around Thread? Like I've heard from other companies where they're like, consumers just don't know what it is or if they have it, all of that kind of stuff. And they worry about putting it into a product, but it makes so much sense. And we're getting even Thread 1.4 support on the new tvOS and everything. Thread is great, but a lot of regular people don't know that much about it. Have you seen any uphill battle in educating consumers about Thread and the benefits over Wi-Fi and stuff like that?
I think when it comes to Thread, we are not an exclusion to the overall industry. So, okay, our products have Thread in there. There are lots of devices that are already with Thread radios in there. I doubt that most of the people who have Thread devices at home don't even know that they have a Thread device. So there is a long way for the whole industry in educating until the technology is really arrived at the mass consumer. And of course, also our user experiences are no exception to that. We can help drive it a little bit. Every device maker that uses Thread really and pushes it in his customer base helps, of course, to raise the adoption level. But I think it will still take a while. Just think how long Wi-Fi took, and will be no different with Thread. And for that, we still need to wait. And yes, there are adoption issues.
What version of Wi-Fi do you guys have in here?
Well, it's Wi-Fi is backwards compatible, so actually, it's Wi-Fi 4 is enough. We don't. All the features that are in Wi-Fi 5 and 6 wouldn't bring any additional value to our product. So basically, for us, it's enough to have support more or less the Wi-Fi 4 features, because speed is no topic. We need low power consumption, and the only thing that came with Wi-Fi 6 that could bring lower power consumption does not deliver on that promise in reality. That's why many of the other smart home devices are still on relatively old Wi-Fi standards, because we just don't need it, and it creates more headache than use.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot. Even Apple's like HomePods are on like older versions of Wi-Fi, so it's not. Lots of things definitely use the older Wi-Fi spec, but I'm always just curious. Okay, here's another topic that I was very curious about, and you guys do have the exterior keypad, which is very nice as well. It's really nice and skinny, which makes it perfect to mount on like the molding outside of our house. Like it fits really well, where a lot of the other ones I've tried have been a bit wider. So I do really like that. It does have the fingerprint reader built in, so you've got a bunch of different options already. So you can have this automatically unlock, like with the Nuki app. You can schedule and run automations and unlock it with your voice, all of those things. Keypad, fingerprint. What are your thoughts on ultra wideband, as well as Apple HomeKey or Aliro, any of those things? What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, on Nuki, we basically have three principles. They are smart, simple, secure. And with the simple element, we mean that accessing your home should really be as easy and as convenient as possible for everyone. So we offer customers multiple options, as you already mentioned. One of the features that we have, for example, is auto unlock. So we have proximity detection built into our apps and our devices. So we know when you're approaching your home and it unlocks automatically. That's there. Also biometrics, of course, are there to just facilitate. You hold your finger and it's really super fast as well. So users should have the choice. And that's also with tap to unlock or even hands-free unlocking. In the end, is the same is options in our European product launches. We already announced that we are planning to be very early supporters of Alira when it will be launched. So we are working towards that direction also because we think it's a good technology. It's coming to iOS and Google customers, so platform agnostic. That's also really important when it comes to adoptions. And that's our philosophy. So our devices will be there. They will work with the newest access technologies that are around. And well, the choice should be with the users. We think, of course, being hands-free is really cool. That's built in our products already since years and is working very, very reliable. Has been a great success factor for Nuki's adoption here in Europe. And we can't wait to bring that to the US now.
Would you be able to, because one of the problems with the UWB things, especially for a retrofit lock, like this is going on the inside. So like the tapping or the hands-free automatic stuff like that, it's not going to work with this on the inside and no piece on the outside. Would you be able to add kind of like that tech into like the keypad, which could then communicate with the lock and do it that way? Or are you guys looking at maybe doing a different style of lock that has an exterior facing component as well?
Basically all our locks are retrofit locks, and it's not easy to change that in Europe. So we won't go into details now about how this possible future device of us might look like. But it certainly needs to be something on the outside, because there's also another catch to ultra wideband. Basically, it will be required that ultra wideband devices, as a backup, also have NFC in there. And NFC really has just 2 to 3 centimeters of range because of security reasons. So even if we would have an ultra wideband radio in our locks on the inside, we would still need something on the outside that facilitates the NFC fallback. That more or less answers the questions anyway. So we need to have something on the outside for ultra wideband. And then, with ultra wideband is a beast. It's really a beast because it has so high expectations in what it can deliver, and it's not so easy to get that done.
I have not looked into this enough yet, so I don't know all the details, but I did read a little bit this past week about the new version of NFC that has, I think what they said, like 8 times the range. And a lot of the talk that I heard was, it's going to make tap to pay easier and more reliable because you don't have to have your phone exactly on top of like that PayPass NFC logo. Do you think you think this would help with the door lock space as well? I mean, I feel like they're both using the NFC spec. I feel like that could make, HomeKey and other stuff work more reliably too.
Well, currently, the only requirement for NFC is that we have a certain minimum distance that works. But I guess if you have an NFC standard that goes that wide, you also need to have a maximum distance, because you don't want to, when you pay somewhere, you don't want to be the next one in the line pay for you. So
that's true.
The same, of course, with the door lock. But on the other side, if you go past the gate, and you want to be just in proximity of a few centimeters to the gate, you want to open the gate, that could be a use case that makes sense as well, of course, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think that NFC will not replace ultra wideband. So everything that is from a further distance, it's going to be ultra wideband with all its complexity. NFC is really show that you are there with the device. It's proof your presence.
Yes, I do like ultra wideband a lot. I mean, you got the directional aspect in there as well as strength and like the 3D location. So there's a lot going on with the ultra wideband to make it more reliable than Bluetooth proximity or NFC. So I think that's going to be the popular way. But like you said, you need NFC as a fallback. I mean, because obviously even Apple only has it on certain devices. Like their base ones don't have like that U1 chip and everything. So they would be out in the cold if there wasn't NFC as a backup option in there. Next thing that I want to kind of pick your guys' brain about. Tell me about the motor, because like just looking at this thing, that's one of the coolest things. And I'm familiar with European style locks and all the different ones that they have, but I didn't even think about how much more torque and power that would require for some of those situations compared to the US. But I know you guys are touting this as like one of the first motors, like lock motors, to be a brushless motor, which is something I usually just see in like the high-end power tools. So tell me about the motor in here, how you kind of got to where it is, and how you got that crazy speed on it too. Because I don't know, it's just the power of the motor, but it responds really quick and it's really strong when it turns.
Yeah, the secret thing is that the lock itself is basically the motor. It doesn't even have a motor built into it. It is a motor, kind of. When we created it, we actually created a motor and put the lock and all the other components around it. So more or less what you have in your hand is a motor. Most other smart locks are some mechanical things that have a motor in it. We are basically the motor. That's the cool thing with it. And the main reason for doing so was that we really wanted to have as large as possible diameter of the motor. Because if you have a large diameter, you can get lots of force with just a few RPMs. So it doesn't need to turn as fast as small motors need to turn. You can have a small motor with lots of gears, or you can have a larger motor with fewer gears. And we have a large motor with few gears.
That makes sense.
And that is really important because it helps on the noise side of things. And European doors, as Jürgen already said initially, they go by 720 degrees, so it takes longer if you're not fast. And then, of course, the noise from a user perspective becomes relevant, because if there is a noise that goes on for several seconds, you don't want to like that. So therefore, make it fast, make it less noise. That's what is really key in Europe. And for us, having, let's say, mastered and really worked and invested a lot on mastering that challenge in Europe, it feels like almost very easy, let's say, when then applying this technology to American doors, because in the end, the way is just 1/6 probably of the European equivalent. So it's just and done. Yeah. So it's really fun experience for us when testing here on American doors.
It's just going to feel really fast all the time, just like surprisingly quick. Okay, what are we looking at for in terms of availability and pricing? Because I didn't mention that when we talked about the actual lock itself. When is it going to be available here in the US, and what are these priced at for the lock as well as with the keypad?
Yeah, so we're launching on 2nd of July, and products will be available on Amazon. And the pricing of the lock standalone will be $159. And we expect our flagship product to be the bundle of keypad plus lock, and that will be available at $229.
Awesome. It's like a surprisingly good price point. Like when we see a lot of other similar locks that have like these premium feels, it's a very competitive price point there. Okay, I want to wrap this up here with give me your pitch. There's a lot of smart locks out there. I like the look and feel of this. I like how easy it is to install. It seems very reliable, but I've only had, testing with it a good week or so with everything else that's been going on with Dub and everything. What helps you guys stand apart with so many? I mean, obviously, one of your biggest competitors has to be like August, which is now owned by Yale or Assa Abloy or wherever it has landed at the moment. But, similar design that kind of goes in the back like this. What helps you guys stand out? What's your special sauce that people should look at this instead of a lot of the other smart locks?
Yeah. So I would say first thing is definitely when you compare especially to August, the over-thread experience, and we're giving the customer really all the choice. So you can decide if you go the Meta way, if you want our direct Wi-Fi built-in, or still go via Bluetooth. I already said Meta over-thread. Sooner or later, that's also will apply to whatever Alira and so on comes out. So that's all backed in Nuki. And as a customer, you always have the choice, because that's the second thing. I think if you use our apps regularly and the user experience, so we're actually coming from the software side of things. There are plenty of options and integration options also into smart home systems that we're offering, and it's all in one device, and you can always choose from this one device, so you don't need different models if you want that connectivity and that and so on. It's all there and can also be used simultaneously. And finally, I think also, of course, the ease of use of biometrics and the speed, because everything is really optimized for it. That's relevant. And finally, comparing us to, let's say, the major range of American locks out there, I think we just have a totally different design approach. First of all, we are very much convinced by the retrofit approach. Why? Because on the first hand, we think the best looking lock from the outside is the one that is completely invisible. That's why there is nothing on the outside and your existing key still works. There is no change to your door, nothing. And on the inside, we really put lots of emphasis into making our device look really good. Whereas what we see with other players is that actually they also put focus on the outside because they have an outer part of the lock, but actually not so much on the inside. That's also why we are very minimalistic with size, because we know whatever is smaller, usually humans also think it's more appealing in terms of design.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. The lock space is getting, I feel like, crowded now, which is good because there's more innovation here than there really has been in years. And I have followed Nuki for a while. It seemed really popular in the European market. A lot of people I know who are based in Europe really like the Nuki locks, and usually it's like in reverse. Usually we have a lot of stuff that sticks in the US before making it to Europe, and now we're seeing something that is launching in Europe, been around for a while, successful and popular, and now it's finally coming to the US. So I'm excited. I'm very excited to see your future Aliro enhanced versions. I cannot wait for that as well. I love it. Thank you. I'll put links for this as well as everything else we talked about in the show notes. Jürgen, Merkin, anything you guys want to leave us with here as we wrap up?
Nothing from my side. So just thanks for having us again. And we're really looking forward to our launch early on in July. And the experience, we can't wait to bring all the innovation that we have more or less acquired in Europe over the past 10 years to US. And let's see, very much looking forward to it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. It's been great having you on. Go get some rest. Everybody else who's listening to this, do what you guys do best. Go leave the podcast a 5, 10, 100-star rating on your podcast player of choice. Watch the video version of this where I can handsomely model the Nuki Smart Lock on video. You can find it at youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. Leave me any questions you want on the HomeKit Insider YouTube channel. You can email me at andrew@appleinsider.com or find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, all different social platforms. They are appropriately linked in the show notes. Thank you guys again so much. Everyone else, we'll catch you next week.